Oh. boy. Here we go. Betsy, good morning. Here we go. All right. This May. Good morning. First of all, good morning, everyone. Hope you had a good week. Day 72 as a machinist. Her name is just machinist. Like we don't ever have an opportunity to have a name they just call sleeper. I guess it makes sense for a narrative game, but there's no voiced audio. You won't be around all strange today. You got to head out for an errand. That's all right. Thanks for coming by anyway. I appreciate it. All right. We deal with this flotilla. Deal with the flotilla. All right. The scrolling is always a little bit choppy when we first start. Right. I need at least a second point before... we do anything there. All right. So, flotilla, right? We gotta break the quarantine. Okay. How to feed this cat? I looked it up. Yeah, there's nothing. It's just good karma for you. So I'm still gonna feed it every day, but there's no point feeding it like 40 times a day. I was right. It's a money trap for people just like me. Okay. Right, my condition's already flickering, so I'm just gonna let it do that. I will use a vial of stabilizer later. Okay. So with 5 we can turn... Oh, we don't need to do that yet though. So we do need to convince a crew though still. So I'm gonna put a 3 in there since we have a +2. Neutral. Suspicion went up. It's not ideal. Alright, I'm gonna put a 5 in here. Does suspicion go up on a positive? No. You notice the crew sat apart from the others. Apparently they have been discussing smuggling supplies to the Cordon themselves. Alright. And I'll drop a 4 in here. Okay. Do I have any safe actions? I doubt any of these are safe. No. So, I have a 2. I have... gonna tick up to here. I only have 4 days left. Ah, man, you know what? I think I'm going to take the stabilizer. I have a lot of stabilizer. I want as many dice as possible to get through this. Because we have a... I don't know what that is. A terrorism clock? Maybe? I'm not sure what it represents, but it's probably not good. Ash just seems very determined. That sucks. Are you fucking kidding me? Okay, that's better. Jesus. 4 1s and a 2? That's the worst roll we've had all game. That's the worst roll, including the days where we didn't have anything to do. That was the worst. Alright. Come on, let's get a crew convinced. Is there something that I don't have a +2 in that I could work on here? Engineer, I have a +2. What about down here? Nope. So, I guess I can use this 6 on anything then. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm just going to keep going. Get this one out of the way. Okay. You meet Peak leaning in a corner of the canteen in their typically unassuming way. It occurs to you, as you approach, that Peak must have had some practice at staying invisible. All good? They look up from their slate. That crew you were talking to, they nod to the group leaving the canteen. Will they join us? They'll do it. Nicely done. Peak beckons for you to follow as they peel off the wall and head out into the walkway overlooking the cordon. Glad you were here to talk them into it. I never had much of a way with people. Peak smiles and looks away as quickly as you walk. You and Esh seem to do okay. Yeah, why is that? Well, Peak pauses. Maybe it'd be more accurate to say people never had much of a way with me. They squint, irritated by their own odd turn of phrase. What I mean is, people have caused me a lot of trouble. I've had people hate me without knowing a thing about me. They tuck their hair behind an ear. I'm sure you know the feeling. I do. Pete glances at you. Sorry to hear that. It marks you, am I right? I try not to think about it. Pete nods. Don't let me make that any harder. Pete leads you around a corner, heading back to the main cordon access way. I appreciate you coming in and helping us on this, Sleeper. On talking to the crew and, well, you know, maybe after this insane plan is done we can talk properly. They keep looking ahead and you realize they're nervous. I'd like that. Pete smiles, looking down at their feet. That's settled then, they say to the floor. I better report the news to Esha. We have ourselves a tug escort. Pete stops at an intersection. See you soon, Sleeper, and please, take care. And with that, they drift away, their head down, their gait changing as they do, their practiced invisibility shrouding them like a cape. Strange behavior. Alright, let us sunbathe with these ones. Why is this so choppy? I don't know why it's so choppy today. Maybe there's just too much going on. Oh. Wasn't expecting that. Is there something safe I can use a 1 on here? I could just pick some mushrooms, I guess. Probably get droll caps from this. Oh, I got 2 random mushrooms. Right, not random rare mushrooms, though. The matsutake and the droll. I guess the matsutake's rare. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Okay. We are going to go feed the cat. Even though I know it doesn't do anything. That cat, like a lot of other beings on this station, have come to rely on us. That's okay. Alright. So, we don't have a whole lot of time left to get the rest of these actions done. Oh, what's this? Drone. A rapid burst of movement catches your eye. A drone, its fins adjusting as it hovers in place, floats in the corridor. Hello? The drone shifts a little, but does not respond. The drone buzzes closer, and a voice gurgles out of its speaker, distorted and strange. Sleeper, come to the cordon, we need to speak. Who is this? The drone clicks and whirs, and the recording starts playing again. Sleeper, come to the cordon, we need to speak. Inspect the drone. You move closer, and the drone bobs away to a safe distance. But as it does, you see the HA of Havenage emblazoned on its side. Could this be Feng's drone? Satisfied it has delivered its message, the drone rotates and accelerates away as rapidly as it arrives. You stare at it as it disappears from sight, hoping for some insight that escapes you. To the cordon, then. Things are getting more complicated? Great. If we didn't have this time pressure already to worry about? 3 days. Great. As you enter the passage that leads to the cordon, a flash of movement catches your eye. The drone. It stops to make sure you've seen it, and then flits into a side passage leading to a set of narrow stairs. You climb up through a dark shaft, the drone stopping at each landing to check you are following. Despite its lack of expression, there's something overbearing about the way the drone waits, impatiently realigning its fins in sequence. After a long climb, you come out onto an observation platform. The cordon and the vast ramshackle refugee ships beyond fill your vision. The scale seems impossible, and immediately you feel small and naive for even thinking you could affect this situation. Something shifts nearby. The drone again? A woman is standing at the window, at the edge of your vision. You aren't surprised you didn't notice her. She, too, seems impossibly small in the shadow of the flotilla. The drone buzzes by her shoulder, and she turns. Helene, frustrated Havenage counselor. An ally, perhaps? Sleeper, sorry for all the cloak and dagger nonsense, she nods at the drone, but I've never regretted being cautious. She smiles a tight smile and holds out a hand. I'm Helene. Do nothing. She draws the hand back in, unfazed, clutching the large slate she carries at her chest. Look, she glances around the empty observation deck as if checking for potential eavesdroppers. Let's be straight with each other. I know about your plans, and she cuts in before you can respond. I understand your motives. You look at her in her overalls, the yellow markers, the HA sigil. You've been on the eye long enough to recognize a Havenage member when you see them. Stay silent. She glances around nervously again and moves a little closer. This entire situation, I'm not here to defend it. She glances back at the flotilla. No one is happy about this. Then release the flotilla. She sighs. How do you think this works? She pauses. Sleeper, tell me something. What does Havenage mean to you? A work in progress. She smiles. Fair, I think. Havenage is used to being criticized. In some ways, we invite it. Members are free to bring up grievances at any meeting, to propose new structures and approaches. She shifts her weight impatiently. As a counselor, it is my duty to listen to them. That is why I was elected by the members. We are an imperfect system, yes, and each counselor, each member, each representative can be flawed and worse. She looks down. But we keep this place running. That is what we do. And non-members? There are paths to membership, and we cannot force everyone on the station to join us. What do you expect? We're an association of individuals. We cannot always account for the needs of those outside that structure. She turns and looks out at the flotilla. No matter how much we wish to. Can the Eye take in thousands of refugees safely? I don't know. This place is a ruin, Sleeper. What do you think the council discusses? The price of Jarol? We make plans to keep the place spinning, to keep life support working, to ensure... Helene's slate chirps and a grim look passes across her face as she sees the notification. She looks tired, the screen light casting her rigid expression in a pale glow. Sleeper, I didn't bring you here to explain how Havenage works. I came to talk about your plan to cross the cordon, breach the quarantine, and supply the flotilla. She looks directly at you. Stay silent. I know you think you're helping the flotilla, but you cannot do this. Right now, halfway along the ring, one of a countless series of debates are being held. These debates are to evaluate the potential harm that could be caused if the refugees of the flotilla are left to enter the station. These debates are at a standstill. Helene walks to the window. Too many in the Havenage Council think of the flotilla as a threat. After recent events, a hardline group has emerged, protective, selfish. They seek only to benefit the members. In their mind, the flotilla is a danger to life on the Eye. If you are caught crossing the cordon and breaching the quarantine, it will only strengthen the hardline councilor's case. Criminals who stole a ship from XPR, undermining the security of the station, she shakes her head. It's exactly what they want. The refugees need supplies. They do, and that's exactly what I want to give them. But unless the quarantine's lifted through a fair process, they'll never get them. She sighs deeply. And those ex-XPR spacers you're running with, Sleeper, do you know anything about them? More than I know about you. She looks at you pleadingly. Let's change that, Sleeper. Why do you think the refugee flotilla came here now? Something is happening in the system. Something is pushing people out of colonies and outposts that have survived since the Solheim collapse. We need to be ready for whatever is coming, ready to protect the Eye. Oh, man. I know the Eye means something to you. I know there's a reason you're still here. Help me to protect it. Helene fixes you with a strong look. Persuade those spacers that this is the wrong move, that they will get caught and the flotilla will be locked down, that Havenage will be delivered into those with the worst instincts. Forget this suicidal supply run with people you barely know. Help me fight for the Eye. I won't betray them. Helene looks away, but you will betray your home. Don't offer up the excuse the hardliners need to lock the flotilla out altogether, to persuade the members they are the safest pair of hands. She looks at you imploringly. Please. You look back at her and the flotilla behind, and sense a desperation in her plea. A notification breaks the silence. Shit. She rapidly scrolls through pages of data. Sleeper, I need to go. She looks torn. Think about this, please. Talk to the spacers. Help them see reason. And she quickly leaves the observation deck before you have time to respond. You stay for a moment, watching the lights of the tugs in the flotilla, and wonder what it feels like to be on one of those ships, so close to your destination and yet so far from it. And then you think of the Havenage Council chamber across the Eye, where the right of these people to find safety is being debated. You shiver, And then you too are gone, back into the stairwell in the cold dark below. Or maybe she just gets her job done, right? Maybe she just pulls it off and nobody finds out if we're good enough. Right? Maybe? I don't have a whole lot of time to pull these off, man. Oh, Jesus. Progress on these goes so slow. Shit. Come on. Okay. Oh my God. Oh man. Why? Why are you doing this to me? Oh, Jesus. I'm not sure we're even going to make it. We've been spending all of our dice on it. Well, all of our dice that we can spend, and I'm not stupid enough to put ones in those things. It's not a great spread of dice, honestly. Sleeper, Peak is waiting for you when you leave, but they look different, pale, drawn out. You need to come up to the Briar now. They don't meet your eye. What's happened? Not here, Peak hisses. Come to the ship. We'll be waiting. Peak walks away. Don't take long. And with that, they disappear around the corner, leaving you anxious and confused. Great. Well, let me eat first, please. I have a feeling this is going to be a long day. Oh, man. They found out about the Havenage thing, maybe? As you walk into the Climbing Briar's cavernous bay, now filled with crates and containers, Esha is waiting for you. In front of her, sliced open, with its insides scattered across the top of a heavy-duty crate, is an object you recognize. Helene's drone. You freeze.
Jolly good show, Major.
Oh, you gotta run? Might be around this afternoon? Alright. Thanks for coming by. Bad Seed. I will talk to you later. I've got some stuff to do this afternoon too, so we'll see. Alright, take care, bud. You freeze. Come in quick. Peak nudges you into the bay, looking behind you before sealing the entryway. We have to start being careful. You move closer to the container, your eyes on the drone splayed out in pieces. Some parts of it hooked up to a slate that Peak picks up and begins tapping away at. Esha looks up from the dissection. We caught it buzzing around nearby, heading for the ship. She leans over and taps the HA sigil on one of the removed pieces of plating. It's a Havenage spy. We think we got it before it sent back data, but we can't be sure. Peak looks at you nervously. Esha cuts in. Have you noticed anyone watching you? Any drones like this? Anyone following you up to the Briar? I've seen this drone. Esha frowns. Following you? I met its owner. She pauses for a while. Peak looking between the two of you. Explain, Sleeper. Esha says quietly, tell them about Helene. You explain that you met with Helene at the cordon, and you tell Esha and Peak about what she told you, that the Havenage Council are debating lifting the quarantine, but they are blocked by the hardliners. You speak faster and faster, but before you can finish, Esha walks away in anger, and then comes back again, her eyes burning. What is this, Sleeper? Have you understood nothing from what we've told you? She paces in front of you. Havenage are not your friends. They are administrators, which means they are interested only in their own power, their own survival, their own causes. They divide people as easily as sorting livestock. The greater good of their work demands it. The wider project of the station, the colony, the nation. Her eyes are wide as she speaks, her anger barely contained. She wants to help. Esha laughs. Help what, Sleeper? Undo the mess of her own creation? She only wishes to placate you so you'll compromise. So you'll do what is acceptable, not what is right. She is trying. Let me tell you something, Sleeper, Esh says, her rage hardened into pain. When people become administrators, they give up something. Some part of being human, being an equal among others, goes away. They start talking about the greater good, the systems, the ways in which their hands are tied or their process is compromised. My mother was the administrator of Hawthorne, and I have seen what it did to her. That noble higher calling, it is toxic. People should never have the chance to decide the fate of others, and those that do so at the cost of their humanity. Sounds like you've been triggered by you've had some trauma triggered, Esh, maybe, and it's clouding your judgment. Not that anything that she's saying is wrong, but it seems like she's taking it a little too personally. Peek tries to cut in, but Esha holds up a hand. Don't start, Peek. Don't ask me to be reasonable or calm down. Thousands of people are desperate out there. Being reasonable will only prolong their suffering. You're right. Esha doesn't move for a moment. Then she lifts a hand to rub her temples. She goes to say something, then stops. She walks back into the bay and starts checking the straps on the crates. I will make the run, she yanks on a strap. No more distractions. Sleeper. Peek looks torn. You have to understand, this is personal for Esh. Oh, I understand. Aline warned me. Peek tense. Warned you what, Sleeper? Getting caught will be bad. You don't think we know that? Peek looks tired. You glance around the bay of the Briar, the walls seeming closer every second. This whole thing is closing in on you, and the question is, where do you want to be when it all collapses? You look at Peek. What do you think, Sleeper? Peek rubs her forehead. Should we do this thing or not? I don't know. Peek nods. Me neither. They look at Esh. But you see her? She knows, and she saved my life, so I'm going to say we do it. They squeeze your shoulder. Onward. They slip away to help Esh, leaving you alone to replay the conversation in your head. A certain kind of grim determination settling in the room. Last chance to prepare. Well, if we're going to do this, we better do it right. It seems like there's not really going to be any stopping her once she gets started, so... Okay, I have +2s in all these, please. No more Havenage suspicions. Okay. That part's done. Peek is waiting for you when you slip out of the operations center, nervously poking at their small slate. Sleeper, they hiss. I follow what you were doing on the network. Incredible work. How do you do that? Comes naturally. Peek smiles. I can't tell if that's modesty or just the truth. Interfacing skills like that? It's almost worth being... They stop themselves. Sorry, I didn't mean... Don't worry about it. Peek nods. Sorry. You and Peek quietly slip into the main walkway and work your way back to the public areas of the cordon. Avenage has had to quickly respond to the flotilla's arrival, and that means a lot of contractors and spacers walking through these corridors. You blend in easily enough. I haven't really met a sleeper before, Peek begins. As you might have guessed, they smile nervously. Hawthorne is an XPR service outpost, and since the collapse, no one came for refueling or repairs anymore. So my generation has never met anyone outside the company. We heard about sleepers, they nod in your direction. From the data packets that come through from XPR every once in a while. They usually contain news along with the corporate propaganda, but the reports were light on the details. SNRP have kept the sleeper program pretty quiet anyway. And I think XPR are only interested in telling their employees about it because it made living in our company town look like a good life, in comparison to being a piece of corporate property. They freeze. Sorry, again, I don't mean... They look down. I'm just not sure how to talk about this stuff. It's okay. Peek smiles. I'll shut up about it now. You walk on a little further, the walkway becoming busier. You both relax a little more and go with the flow of people. I just want to say, I think I understand. They begin again. Clearly this has been on their mind. I understand the need to escape, to get free of it all. They laugh at themselves. The structures, the systems, the company horizons, in a company town, they stare ahead. Small places, small corridors, small people, they look away. The slow death it brings... That's it. They turn to you. I get why you signed up to be a sleeper and why you escaped from that too. Nod. You try to form words, but you can't. There's altogether too much running through your head. But you look at Peek, and they look at you, and that seems okay for now. You walk in silence again, each of you in their own thoughts, but moving together through space nonetheless. After a while, you come to the entrance to the cordon, where handfuls of workers and crews filter in and out through 2 huge loading bay doors. Peak stops. Okay, they pause. I'm heading back to the Briar. Once again, incredible work on the sensors. That blind spot you created, that should give us a real advantage. See you soon. They head off, disappearing into the crowd almost immediately, outrunning their own nervousness. Alright. So that's been done. How many days do we have? 2. To do this. I got it. I have to. I have to spend these 3s. Okay. Positive outcome. No. Fuck. All right, let me do a 6 on this. Reduce the suspicion. Reroll this one into another 6. Excellent. Okay. I only need 2 successes tomorrow. And we will... Oh, and I got a scrap item. Oh, that's awesome. I can repair myself and keep myself in good condition tomorrow. Okay. Oh man, we're cutting this close. I'm gonna sleep on the Briar today. I just want to get this done. Oh, perfect. Those dice are awesome. Okay. This is awesome. I'm gonna put 4 in there. Okay, here we go. We beat the deadline. Pete grins as you pile the ion thruster sets onto the motorized trolley in a derelict loading bay. I borrowed this from Esh. I barely know how it works. They seem giddy at the idea of stealing the ship parts from Havenage. I thought you worked for XPR. I did, but not as a repair tech. They help you heave the thruster into position. My specialty was computer systems. I mostly worked on keeping the protocols that ran the refueling platforms from totally decaying due to lack of use. There's a load of platforms in orbit of the moon Hawthorne is on, and Cinder itself. Esha and I ended up having to head out to them regularly to work on them. Sounds like hard work. Are you kidding? Peak smiles. That was the best job at Hawthorne. You get assigned a ship, you get to leave the colony for a bit. So much better than outpost maintenance or canteen work. The only reason we got assigned it was that Esh's mother is the administrator of Hawthorne, and Esh managed to get my name on the list too. Peak looks for the trolley's ignition. Esha is always saving me. They find the switch and hit it, and the trolley starts whining. Peak looks at the thrusters. Esh will install these. The Briar is her baby, really. Peak looks towards the bay exit. Truth be told, I was surprised she could bring herself to take it from her mother. Losing a ship? That has to have hurt the colony. What is her mother like? Tough. You'd have to be to keep control of a services outpost with no services to provide. Peak looks away. It's a tough place overall, Hawthorne, and Esh's mum, she likes it that way. Peak shuffles the trolley out of the bay into the corridor. They'll manage without the Briar, no choice. Peak smiles, and I have to admit I'd love to have seen her face when she saw we had gone. Peak pauses. Don't tell Esha that. They walk on quietly, lost in their memories of Hawthorne. Okay, I think I can manage the rest. Peak brushes their hair out of their face. You've done more than enough this cycle. Peak looks over the thrusters. Once these are fitted, the Briar will handle better than ever. You might even get a thank you from Esh, Peak laughs. They head off into the corridor, the trolley whining its high-pitched whine. See you soon. Alright, that seems like everything is done. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But she's doing it. So the question is, you know what? Just for the hell of it, I'm going to drop Havenage suspicion to 0. I don't know if that will help, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to grab a piece of scrap to repair myself. And then I'm going to re-roll this. A 5. I'm going to grab another piece of scrap. Okay. All right. Tomorrow's the day. We're going to see what happens. There's all these refugees. They need help. I hope I'm not helping them at the expense of all the people that live on the eye and all of my friends that live here. It's the way they made it sound. Oh man. Decisions. Feed the stray kitty. Go to sleep. Peek. She's gone, Sleeper. Peek is breathless and shaking. She started the run without us. Shit. Let's go. If we head to the cordon now, Peek starts back up the corridor. They turn back. She has to make it, Sleeper. She has to. A shiver runs down your spine. Esha, I hope you know what you're doing. Very quickly, I need to eat. I think I can make... I haven't cooked matsutake at the bar yet. It's probably not a great idea, but I have to make breakfast. 3 energy. It's not bad. And I'm just going to buy a bunch of scrap before we go too. In case I need repairs, I have no idea what's going to happen. Actually, I hope this isn't like, you took too many side actions on your way to the critically important thing. I've never seen that happen. So I would be mad if the game did that to me. The goals seem to tick down by day. Alright, so I have a ship mind and some scrap. Stabilizer. I'm full energy. I'm in stable condition. I have some pretty good dice. So I hope that this will do it. You arrive, frantic and anxious, at the cordon. Peek is nowhere to be seen. Then you hear footsteps, hammering on the metal stairway Helene's drone led you through before, the one that leads up to the observation deck. You leap up the stairs 2 at a time and make it to the top, momentarily blinded by the light pouring into the observation deck. Sleeper, Peek emerges from the light. I know she's trying to protect me, but... It's okay. She chose. What about my choice, Sleeper? I'm not a child anymore. I can fight for myself. They turn away. There she is. Peek rushes to the wide window, leaning forward to catch a glimpse of the climbing briar's blue XPR livery against the black of the void. You spot the climbing briar, the glint of blue and white, and beside it the red glare of the tug's lights. The tug crew went with her. Peek smiles. I knew they'd keep their word. That'll help. Peek doesn't seem to hear you, but the idea of the crew backing Esha up makes you smile. Maybe this thing will work. You watch as the briar and its tug escort arc down toward the edge of the cordon, demarcated by the red lights of the perimeter system. So far, so good. The briar will just look like another refugee ship being escorted into the cordon, at least at a glance. Peek grips the rail as Esh reaches the edge of the cordon, that invisible net of sensors splayed between ships and drones. Now let's hope the blind spot triggered. You think back to the mess of systems you had to wade through to set it up, the delicate contingencies you set up to trigger the sensor blackout at just the right moment. Without noise, without ceremony, the briar slides through the cordon. You await the flickering of alarm lights, the swarming of drones, but nothing. Just another cycle, just another ship. Esha is in. Both you and Peek let out a breath you've been holding and laugh. How did she do it? Peek smiles, shaking their head. We did it. Peek smiles wider. Yes, we did. They laugh. You feel a little shaky from the tension, but Peek's ease helps you settle. You imagine Esha, steely-eyed, in the pilot seat of the briar, searching for a place to dock. Maybe being stubborn has its advantages. What now? Now she finds a place to dock and unload as quietly as possible. They look out at the flotilla. Then she gets the hell out of there. You and Peek turn back to the window, looking for the briar again amongst all those hulls, the calm fading as new worries settle in. You spot the briar first this time, docking with the largest of the flotilla's ships, a vast converted tanker. half of its protective plates removed. You think about the effort it must have taken to get that thing all the way here from the inner system. You watch the Briar, unable to get any sense of progress from its placid exterior. They'll be offloading everything now, Peak says, both assuring you and themselves that everything is going to plan. You think of all the supplies loaded into the Briar, and how long the process of unloading them might take. The bay was packed, rammed with everything you could offer, and the thought of bringing all that to the flotilla makes you smile. You think of the reaction of the refugees, of the welcome they'll give Esha as the bearer of such gifts. Even imagine a smile from Esha as she is showered with thanks. You focus on that as you watch the Briar and continue the nervous wait for it to finish unloading. It's breaking off, Peak points at the Briar, and you see the puff of air and dust that accompanies an emergency depressurization. Esha must have ended things early, but why? Then you see them, the tugs closing in on the Briar. Havenage must have spotted the ship. You and Peak are up against the window again, willing the Briar a safe path out of the flotilla. Suddenly the Briar shifts in space, a blue blur between two hulls. Peak whistles. Look at that, they smile at you. Looks like those upgrades we put together work. You watch as Esh cuts through the crowded flotilla, the tugs not daring to follow her dangerous path and peeling away. It is hard to keep track of the Briar, and suddenly both you and Peak are searching the black for a sign. Where's she gone? Then all of a sudden she is out, blue against the black, pulling away from the corner on a wide arc back towards the station, a clean run. Peak cheers and smiles at you. We did it, she's out. They beam uncontrollably at you, the tension released. You find yourself smiling too, smiling at these two beautiful idiots and their beautiful ship. Then Peak is hugging you, squeezing you with all the nervous energy that had been building. Thank you, Sleeper. We did this together. They step back, still smiling. We did something. Come on, they rush out of the observation deck. Let's meet her. Ooh, I got an upgrade. Alright. Hard to kill. Do I want hard to kill? Obsessive Haggler. I think I want hard to kill. I've been hard to kill. I don't know if that even matters because my condition is not going to drop down there, but you never know, I guess. Alright. You and Peak rush into the Briar, finding yourselves in the now empty bay. The change is a reminder of what you achieved, and looking around, you feel all the more satisfied. A hiss sounds at the far end of the bay, and Ash enters looking exhausted. Peak runs up to embrace her, but she sits down on the bay floor before they reach her. You did it, they sit beside her. Ash, you were incredible. She smiles a small smile at this, laying her head on Peak's shoulder. You suddenly feel like you are intruding, seeing the two of them like this, quiet and content. Sleeper, Peak calls, come on over. Cross the bay and sit beside them on the hard metal floor. Esha, Peak asks, did you give the flotilla our chairs? They both burst out laughing at the ridiculousness of it all. The exhaustion and the worry and everything else. You laugh too. It's impossible not to. And after a while you all come to a stop, Peak wiping their eyes and Esh shaking their head. I would have loved to see it, Sleeper, Esh says quietly, the welcome I got. They came to greet the ship once I docked to offload the supplies. I told them I was coming, of course, as soon as I got inside the cordon, but there were so many. Children, families, they were smiling at me, shaking my hand. Saul was there too, Peak, and he's just as gruff as he sounds over comms, she smiles. They took it all, crate after crate, until the ship was emptied out. Ash looks away. But there were so many, and even with everything we managed to bring, they needed more. They made me promise I would try to come back. Ash, Peak, shakes their head. You know we can't do that twice. Ash stands up. What are we supposed to do? Wait for them to lift the quarantine? She's angry again, that familiar tension rising in her voice. Peak tries to pull her back down. Sit, Ash, rest. You've done enough for today. Don't, Peak. I know my limits. Ash hardens. Okay, well, seeing as they didn't catch you, perhaps they will lift it. They know the flotilla poses no danger now, and if they can account for the extra load on the life support. Esha walks away toward the ladder that leads up into the upper part of the ship. I need to rest, Peak. She holds up a hand. Sleeper. Then she limps up the ladder, step by painful step. I'm afraid if you were expecting a change in Esha's demeanor, Peak smiles at you. At least she's honest. Peak nods. I think I need some rest too. They put a hand on your shoulder and get up from the floor. We couldn't have done this without you, Sleeper, and I know those in the flotilla would thank you too. Go rest. Peak limps up the ladder too, leaving you alone on the metal floor of the bay. Your thoughts drift to all those people on the flotilla, sleeping and sitting on metal floors like this. Children, families, playing in cargo bays and repurposed fuel tanks. You know their story isn't over yet. You look forward to meeting them. Quarantine will lift. You feel more sure of this fact every moment, even though you aren't sure why. You lie back on the metal and stare at the ceiling. What was it Feng told you? Erlin said. The eye opens for us all. Maybe the old guy was right. A home for the lost. You like the idea of that. Maybe in time you can help make that a reality. But something is bothering you. A sliver of a thought like a splinter you can't extract. Why are thousands of refugees coming here now? People don't abandon their homes for nothing. What wave is rushing through the system, and when will it reach the eye? You shudder on the cold metal floor and get up. Something is coming, you can feel it. This isn't over. Episode Flux complete. The first part of the flotilla story is complete. Episode Refuge begins when the cycle clock below is filled. Good luck. The Gathering Storm. Oh, so there's a third episode. Okay. We'll keep going then. It would be a little early to end the stream anyway. Okay, what's done is done. Now all you can do is wait to see what happens next. Okay, so I guess that went as well as we could have hoped. But now we have to see what's coming. Oh man, what is gonna happen? Well, I'm just gonna gather a bunch of scrap here. Because I don't know what I need to be ready for. Something's going to happen. Collect some spores, I guess. Actually, let's gather some Gerol. So we've got a little spread of stuff. Oh, I had a neutral outcome. You find a hidden grove where clouds of spores fizz in the air. You feel energized as you inhale the glittering powder. I didn't really need that, but okay. And then the club head caps I turn into a stabilizer here. Okay. So now we wait. Now we just gotta wait 3 days. So it's basically just gonna be like making money and keeping ourselves in stable condition for the next few days. There doesn't really seem to be anything else going on here. It might be better actually to hold on to the scrap. Well, whatever. 3 days. Just spend our days on some stuff. Playing Tavla might be the best way to make money. Okay, I should gather some scrap though. I needed 8 scrap for the last one. So if I have like a decent amount of scrap built up at the beginning of the episode, maybe that'll help. Neutral outcome again. Really? I re-rolled a 1 and 2 into another 1 and another 2? That sucks. Is there anything that's safe? Do you have any safe ways to make money? That's just energy. I can work the stacks for cryo. I might as well because it's safe work. Negative. A fault in your assigned stack costs you a whole crop, and your yield is small at the end of the cycle. Next time, you'll double check. I still got 6 cryo, though. From a 1, that's not bad. Alright. Alright. I'm not going to repair myself today. That's 2 days. 1 more day. Lemon Mina will feed me. You know what? Let's hang out with Lemon Mina. You all eat dinner together and Lem chats eagerly about his work at the midline. Mina asks a lot of questions. I like Lemon Mina. I hope whatever's coming to the eye is not horrible. I don't know. Giant eldritch monster out of nowhere, I guess. I don't want to spend 4s here because that is dangerous. I will lose condition. Just the opposite of what I want to be doing right now. Collect some spores, I guess? No, there's no point doing that. Give me some Girol caps. There we go. And I can make money doing an engineering action up in the bay, and that might get me some more scraps, so we'll do that too. Alright. That gave me scrap, I think. Okay. Okay. Here we go, episode 3. I'm going to spend one of my scraps so that I start episode 3 in stable condition. Alright, I have a decent spread of items. So, we'll see what happens. Feed the stray cat. Alright, kitty. Good luck. Hits you like a wave, a white-edged breaker roaring inland with the force of the entire ocean. The impact is a screaming brightness, blanking out everything. Behind it is silence. You float in silence, suspended. No, you do not float. You are the silence. It has filled you up. It has emptied you out. You cease to exist. Time passes, though you do not feel it passing. Then something flickers in the silence, and then something moves. That something is you. You open your eyes to a metal ceiling of flickering lights. You feel the floor around you, patting it with shaking hands. You assemble an image of yourself lying on your back in a corridor. You shake off the silence and sit up. What was that? You glance around, looking for a sign of some change. Damage on the walls, shouts in the distance, fire and fear. Nothing has changed. The silence sits around you like fog. Try to think, furrowing your brow. How do you think again? It doesn't seem so easy anymore. You force the pathways to light up, the databanks to grant access. You feel like a fraction drive starting up after a long shutdown in cold vacuum. In the wave was noise. Just as the sound produced by a wave raking across a pebble beach represents trillions of impacts heard as a single roar, so this sound was the result of trillions of electrons flickering in place, heard as a single impossible scream. A memory image comes to you, one from the moments before the wave hit. You squint as you imagine it, trying to cohere its blurry form. A broken skeletal ring, the eye, and then a vast arc approaching it, a razor-edged white curve, the wave. The wave approaches the eye. The eye spins, turning each part to face that vast white edge. You recognize their skeletal data cloud forms. The bright market, the low end, the greenway, the wastes. Then, the wave hits just as the flotilla, the cordon turns to face it. and after that, everything is silence. You open your eyes again. That is the epicenter. But of what? Fuck, some kind of giant data wave? Interference wave came out and, like, scrambled my systems? Even before you reach the cordon, the damage is obvious. The blinking red lights, the drones, the tugs, all are gone. Half the cordon's frame has also been shorn away, perhaps through the impact of some failing ship. People push past you in the corridor, both Havenage staff and contractors clearing the cordon. Push forward. You push through the flow of people, and despite a few suspicious looks, they offer no resistance. The further you pass into the cordon, the less people you see. You can see a few sections have been closed off, their bulkhead doors sealed, and red warning lights punctuating the corridors, but otherwise most areas seem functional. Suddenly you feel a hand fall on your shoulder. Havenage security? You should have known better than to wander into this place. You brace yourself as you turn. Sleeper, Peek embraces you as you turn. What are you doing here? Did you see the cordon go down? Did Esh speak with you? Peek glances around, you can see they're panicked. Where is Esh? I have no idea. Peek runs a hand through their hair. I was away from the ship, and when I got back, she'd taken it and gone. Then I saw the damage to the cordon. Peek looks at you with wild eyes. What if this is some Havenage attempt to clear the flotilla? To scuttle the refugee ships? It isn't. Peek pauses. What do you know, Sleeper? Something knocked me out. There was a wave. Peek frowns. A wave? What do you mean? They pause to think. A signal that only affects electrical systems, perhaps? An EMP would have taken out most of this station, but... Peek runs a hand through their hair. I don't know what you're saying, Sleeper. That doesn't sound... They look away down the corridor for a moment. Look, I have to find Esh. I'm sure you felt something, but we can talk about that later. They set off down the corridor. I can't sit around talking any longer. Find me on the flotilla. I'm going to find a way to Esh no matter what. With that, they rush away into the depths of the cordon, leaving you behind. Seems like you'll need to follow if you want to get any answers. Okay, so it looks like we are now going to open in to the flotilla, I think. Alright, well, I think that's what we have to do. We have to find out what's going on. Okay, I did need some scrap. You find a small shuttle scavenging supplies from the cordon to take back to the flotilla. They'll take you too if you bring some scrap along. Alright. You hand over the scrap and squeeze into the crowded shuttle. Time to head into the flotilla. The flotilla. Refugee fleet. Okay. Getting the necessary supplies to each ship to meet their needs is a huge task. Joining the hauling teams is the simplest thing you can do to help. Damage control. The wave hit systems more than anything, especially those on the ships, so there's 1,000 tiny repair jobs to be done. That's an interface action. We'll probably do that one. That will lose me energy if I fail. This will lose me condition. Flotilla's friend. Shifting ships, systems, and social structures. The only way to navigate the flotilla is by rolling up your sleeves and helping out. Alright, let's get to work with the interfacing. You reboot a tanker's proximity controls, keeping it from drifting into other ships. The occupants are impressed and won't stop thanking you. Alright, same thing. We'll drop a 6 in there. Reroll these. Another 3. I'll try a 3. Should give me a neutral action, worst case scenario. Nope, gave me positive. Okay, I'm in. I only have a 2, but I'm in. Sol and Peek. We're going to find Peek first. As you walk into the bay of the Climbing Briar, the familiarity of the space overcomes any trepidation. It feels good to be back, and the return feels earned, especially after all the work it took to figure out a route through the flotilla's jumble of ships that might lead you to this blue streak. You see Esha and Peek immediately, sitting at the back of the bay, deep in conversation. Their closeness causes you to stop, suddenly aware that you might be interrupting something private. Peek is gesturing wildly as Esh stares out into the middle distance, hunched over. As Peek tries to get her attention, she spots you. Sleeper, Esh nods. Incredible work back there, she smiles. Sorry I couldn't wait for you and Peek, but the moment I saw the cordon go down, I had to get in there. Peek shakes their head. Leaping before looking as usual, Peek smiles, but I'm glad we are all reunited. To be honest, Peak adds, I can't believe it. The flux event knocked the entire cordon system offline. The flotilla is free and Havanage are backing off. Peak smiles at you. You must be our good luck charm. That's not a good thing. In this case, Esh stands, I have to agree with the sleeper. The flux may have brought me my freedom, but the cost for the flotilla's systems is significant. And if Havanage weren't panicked enough, Esh glances off into the distance. How is the flotilla? Surviving, Esh says bluntly, but the tensions they brought with them from Ember's moons are boiling over after the flux event. The flux is some kind of disruptive wave that only affects electrical systems, Peak chips in. So when it hit the flotilla, everything went haywire. The ships are far less well screened than the Eye, so they took the brunt of the wave. Basically, the crisis continues. The cordon may be down, but this brings a whole other set of problems. Esh paces away. You should tell them, Esh. Peak glances at her. Please. Esh doesn't respond. Tell you what? You stare at her back, waiting for a response. Please, Esh, haven't they shown they can be trusted? Peak nods towards you. Esh turns, her arms folded tightly across her chest. She goes to start, and then stops. You can see the anger in her eyes, but you realize it's not directed at you or at anyone else. She's angry with herself. I brought weapons to the flotilla, she pauses, and now they are gone. You suddenly remember the sleek crates that were tucked into the bay, marked with a yellow sign. The ones Esh told you were just supplies. What were you thinking? I was thinking that if the cordon wasn't going to be lifted, the refugees would need something to change that. She stares at you defiantly. Would you rather they just stayed quiet and died like good citizens? Peak looks at you. She knows this was a bad move, Sleeper, I promise you. They glance back at her. She's just too proud to admit it. So what now? Peak looks at Esh. She finds them and she gets them back. Shouldn't we help? Esh turns. It's okay, Sleeper. I don't want anyone getting mixed up in this. This is my responsibility. She looks away. Plus, Peak adds, you and I have work to do. I want to understand the flux, Sleeper, to study it. Peak's eyes light up. This thing is changing the entire system, causing problems across the inner system, driving refugees off Ember's moons, and now it's here. If we don't do something about it, Peak pauses, it's a problem for all of us. I can see more immediate problems, Esh sniffs. Peak ignores her. I've been looking at the networks, and when the flux event hit, it changed things. It shuffled systems, corrupted nodes, and broke open data stores. They take out a slate and show you a flickering polygon. Some of these flux nodes have appeared near the epicenter of the event, but I can't get access. You, however, I saw the way you worked with data when we were preparing for the run. I think you can get into these things. I want you to find a flux node and bring me anything you can extract. They come and go, but most can be found in the barely functioning networks of the wastes. Peak pauses. Start there. Perhaps together we can find something that might point us to what the flux is and where it comes from. Okay. They smile. I knew you'd agree. Escher looks indignant. Don't waste too much time chasing ghosts, Sleeper. There are people in this flotilla that need any help they can get. I'm sure Sleeper can do both, Esh. Peak smiles at you. I'll see you here when you have something. Good hunting. And they wave you out as Esh stomps away to make plans of her own. Oh, I hope the gardener, all those intelligences. There's a fluxed node. I don't know, the river or whatever it's referred to seems to be okay. There are other nodes here that all seem okay for now. So it's just the flux node in the wastes, maybe that's a new problem. I only have a 2. I don't have any rerolls. Let's go and see. Maybe the flux node uses a 2. Also, we need to talk to Saul. Climbing Briar wants fluxed data, I guess. Yeah. Someone told me I should be thanking you. The voice comes from behind you, cutting through the chaos of the crowded cavernous bay. You freeze. Don't be afraid now. I've been hunting you, sure, but for all the best reasons. Turn to see bright eyes set in a rough face, framed in rusted metal. Saul, pragmatic refugee leader. Saul, he holds out his hand, the other clamped firmly around a knotted wooden cane. Shake his hand. He grips you firmly with a heavy and calloused hand. Forgive me, as soon as I saw you, I knew who you were. Saul puts a hand on your shoulder. I've been told a sleeper was part of the supply run that came in several cycles ago, he nods. Very welcome act, and we all thank you for it. Walk with me, sleeper. Saul sets off through the bay, his partial suit hissing and creaking as it helps carry him through the busy crowds. You notice people making way for you and Saul standing back and letting you pass. You pass a makeshift kitchen, steaming pots on heating elements, a restless queue collecting meals. That algae that came through isn't exactly a full meal, but with what we have here, we've been able to make it work. You see a ladle of greenish stew dished out. The color is something, isn't it? Saul smiles. Saul leads you out of the larger bay into a corridor lined with storage rooms that are now serving as dorms. You see someone filling a metal container from a standing pipe, the water gushing out readily. Saul nods to the person as he passes. Just a little further now, Saul leads you into a freight elevator and whistles to some unseen operator to start it up. It jerks into life as you pass through the layers of the ship. You see people on every level. Supplies crammed into every available space, and sparks leaping in bursts as the ship is reshaped and modified to sustain its population. If Havenage were expecting an exodus from the flotilla, the flux event has put a stop to that. Saul stretches. Some have crossed to the eye, but many just to gather salvage or score a hot meal. So the pressure on our supplies is shrinking, but not like I'd hoped. With the flux reaching all the way out here, people are starting to understand that our journey might not be over. Saul stares grimly ahead. Suddenly the freight elevator screeches to a halt, and Saul leads you slowly out into a wide room of chairs and terminals, ringed by a mezzanine and with a glass roof above showing the distant hub, and the far curve of the eye beyond. The people at the terminals nod to him as he enters. This is your ship? Saul nods. That's right, the Pilgrim Seed is mine to care for. He leads you up to a railed platform at the center of the room and stops. She chose me, so to speak. Well, at least her crew did, and I do my best to serve them. Saul looks around the bridge of the ship, pained expression on his face. I'll admit that the responsibility isn't one that suits me. Though we rarely get to choose such things, he glances back at you. But you, Sleeper, from what I understand, you chose to try to help us here. Is that right? I did my best to. Saul nods silently. But I have to ask you, Sleeper, why are you here now? Saul leans back and you feel his eyes on you, assessing you. The flux event. I appreciate the honesty. I had figured as much. Saul flexes the shoulder that is free of the suit. Looking at you now, I can see that an event like that, well, it would have had a big impact. He smiles a half smile. I have thousands of people here on the Pilgrim Seed, Sleeper, and there's thousands more out in the flotilla. He leans against a railing. A lot of them are looking to me to provide some future for them, some path out of this dead end we've got into. And this cycle, this very cycle, the thing we've been running away from, just caught up with us. So these people are scared, Sleeper, and they're looking to me for reassurance. And then, on the same cycle, someone tells me they see you on board, a Sleeper. The same Sleeper, they reckon, that wanted so strongly to send a ship past the cordon to see us. Saul scratches at his beard. So the first thing I wanted to do was thank you for that, for your interest. Pauses. The second thing I want to do was find out what you want from us. Saul's suit hisses and creaks. I think that's fair, don't you? Saul takes a deep breath. So, what is it? Tell me about the flux. Someone at a terminal calls out to Saul and he shouts some orders back. He turns to you. Apologies, he smiles that half smile. I tell you what, Sleeper. Let's you and me make a deal. You want information, I understand that. But I have a list of needs longer than the rim of the eye itself. He grimaces. So you do some things for me, and then we can talk about what's been happening in this system, and I will answer all your questions and then some. I may be the captain of the Pilgrim Seed, and she is certainly the biggest ship in this flotilla. But I'm not the only captain here. We have ships here from each of the moons. We're from Ember's Hearth. There's others from Ember's Song and even Ember's Step. The moons have been at each other's throats, Sleeper. What with the pressure of the flux, the bad blood from the old days, Saul leans in. We aren't exactly all in alignment. What I need is a way to stop things escalating. For the crews on these ships and their captains to feel happy and comfortable enough to forget old rivalries and past crimes. He flinches at something. Those from Ember's Step. Well, they've always been proud, but that pride seems to be a barrier to compromise right now. The last set of supplies I sent their way, they refused. Meanwhile, I have a supply shuttle at the docking axis. The Ember's Song ships gathered at. But they have taken far too many cycles to unload. Maybe if you're heading that way, you can look in on them. I'm no politician, Sleeper, but if I don't... Saul stops. He leans back and flexes, his suit screeching. He groans a little, and you see the weight of the flotilla sitting on his shoulders. The suit the only thing keeping him vertical beneath all that pressure. Look, you'll see for yourself if you go. Meet the other Sleeper, see what they need. Keep them aligned. He speaks through the pain, his voice clipped. Are you okay? Not really, but as long as this thing holds, he grimaces. I hope. Saul grits his teeth. You are what you appear to be, Sleeper. He smiles his half-smile despite the pain. Because I'm not sure I can take any more bad news. Plus, there's plenty to be done here on the Pilgrim Seed, too, if you have a moment to pitch in. There's never enough around here. That's something I have learned the hard way. Saul settles onto his cane, pain visibly receding. Alright, I have 1,000 things to attend to now, Sleeper, so you have to find your own way out. And with that, Saul sits at his terminal with slow and careful movements. You head back down in the freight elevator, and as you do, you see again the layers and layers of chaotic life this vessel and all the vessels of the flotilla hold. Alright, got some new drives here, flotilla support. Saul is asking you to help bring stability to the ships from Ember's Song and Step, and study the flux. Peak wants your help to study and understand the flux event that occurred on the station. Okay. Aki Ember Step Refuge. Docking access of the Ember Song hub. Unload supplies. Saul's shipment of supplies sits partially unloaded. Crew absent. If you want to help, the best way would be to finish the job. The more you offload supplies in the docking bay, the more attention your efforts seem to be gaining. Someone to talk to here. We've got Pilgrim Seed stuff to do. Even Saul's own ship requires help, but figuring out what jobs need doing first and who to help is a challenge. And food is an issue on the Pilgrim Seed, even with agriculture support. A supply of matsutake will help fill the gap. I have some matsutake. You're free to have that. Hearth survival. Whether Esh got her supplies through the quarter or not, Pilgrim Seed and the Hearth refugees on it desperately need help. I wonder if that starts halfway because of all the work that we did, and if it would have been even less if we hadn't have been able to help as successfully as we did in the previous episode. Stability in the flotilla means relieving the pressure on the refugees from all 3 moons of Ember. Okay. And then we have that data down here. That flux data node. Interesting. A 6, 5, or 4. Okay. Can't do that today. Alright, let's go talk to this other person, Aki, Ember's Step refugee. It's a strange sight given your time spent in the Greenway, to see a greenhouse choked in red dust. Piles up along edges, gathers in curving waves and is carried by some unseen wind to whirl in front of the glass ceiling. It's a desert in miniature, captured landscape of iron-rich sediments and unseen life. Beautiful, isn't it? The remark comes from another figure standing at the viewing window, so quietly that you hadn't noticed them. Did they just arrive, or were they here before you were? Their cloth-swaddled form reveals little. It is. They say nothing. You catch a glimpse of a pale face among the thick material, dark eyes glittering in the red reflected light. There's Aki, guarded Ember's Step refugee. They turn to you as the dust swirls. Aki, they smile. A tight smile. You're not from the flotilla, am I right? I live on the Eye. That is not where you are from, she stares into the greenhouse. Everyone is from somewhere, whether they wish to be or not. The red dust glitters in her eyes. Whether it is a good place to be from or not. Aki gathers her cloak around her shoulders against the cold. Brings you to the wind's long shadow. Wind's long shadow? This ship, Aki looks at you curiously. Do you often wander around ships you don't know the name of? You are a strange one. Aki raises an eyebrow. I don't know whether to report you or send you back to where you came from. She smiles at herself, which is nowhere at all. You glance around the empty corridor, suddenly aware of how quiet it is on the ship. Unlike the other ships you have been on, the flotilla, there's a silent order to the wind's long shadow, and in this moment it feels unsettling. Where is everyone? Aki waves a hand. Asleep, mostly. It is night on Step, and so it is night here. She rubs her shoulders, at least for those of us who can sleep. Step? Aki turns away, irritated, eager to change the subject. You hear a creak as a set of shutters slowly begin to close across the glass ceiling of the greenhouse. As you watch, you feel the dissonance this place has with that word. There is nothing green here. A dust house, perhaps. It takes many systems to preserve this landscape. Aki begins to simulate the wind, cycle the dust, layer the sand and dirt beneath. You watch the dust swirling. systems that are failing. The flux event, Aki glances at you for a sign of recognition at this term, is eroding our ability to keep this place alive, to keep these traces of Steppe alive. She smiles to herself, which is ironic, because when we left Steppe, the flux had eroded our ability to survive on the moon. Now the situation is reversed. Away from the moon, its ecosystems are as fragile as we were, living upon it. Something catches your eye as the shutters darken the dust house. The winds, picking away at the dunes, begin to reveal something, a web. A network of thick branching forms, and then they close completely and you see nothing in the dark. Soft blue lights flicker on in the corridor, uplighting a key in cold cyan. You've piqued my curiosity, but I'm so tired, Aki shivers. If you do not have a purpose here on the ship, I recommend finding one. Otherwise, I'm afraid you'll need to leave. Make yourself useful. Perhaps we will get another chance to talk, she turns. I would like that. With that, Aki pads away along the corridor. You stand for a moment in front of the dark dust house, trying to imagine the network of roots under the sand and dust, then trying to imagine the moon that once housed them. Some kind of like desert plants. Desert vines. Systems repair. The crew won't let you into the dust houses, but there are plenty of supporting systems that could do with some loving care. Make yourself useful. Aki warns you that if you wanted to learn more about the wind's long shadows, you'll need to prove your usefulness. Okay, so interface action. A node. No time pressure currently on any of this stuff, but I feel like I want to address this as quickly as possible. So, with the 2... Anything at casters? No. Alright, I'm gonna sunbathe, I guess. My 2. Hey, Free Frag! Welcome in. Hope I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I am doing pretty good. How about you? How's your week been? We finished episode 2. Episode 1? We finished the first episode with the refugee flotilla earlier. And this is the second one. This is like the after helping. We successfully helped them without anything horrible happening immediately. But then something horrible happened afterward. In the next episode, so we're trying to figure out what that was. Alright, I'm going to repair myself here. It's starting out to be a great one. Last night was D&D night, heading out later for some beers and burgers with friends. That's awesome. Friday night D&D. That sounds great, man. Very happy to hear that. Beers and burgers. Nice. I'm going out for dinner tomorrow with my family for Mother's Day. We're going out for whatever. At a bar/restaurant, I guess. But that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that your week and upcoming week is off to such a great start. It's awesome. All right. Let's get some good dice. I need some high dice. 6, 5, or 4 would be a good start. That is garbage. That's a bunch of fucking garbage. 1, 2, 2, 1. I don't need any of that shit. Alright, I'm going to use that 4 on the flux data node that's up here. You need it after I ditched the AI ending? Sorry. I ditched a few endings since then, actually. I didn't leave on the colony ship. I didn't leave with Ankita, who came back. I made the eye my home. So, didn't become an AI. It makes me wonder, like, does the game keep progressing after you pick one of those endings, like, would the story have continued on the colony ship? Would the story have continued after becoming an AI? I wonder. The way the AI ending was worded made it seem like you were leaving it all behind. Like, just being like, you don't need to worry about this stuff anymore. So I have a feeling that would have just been the end of the game. And if I do another playthrough with, I'm going to do another playthrough with hacking as my priority, and then another one as, like, endure and engage as my priority. And I might do different endings. Well, some of the other endings may be out of reach. Anyway. Alright, I got the fluxed data. So we're going to give this back to Peak and see if Peak can make something of it. Peak receives the data on their slate, begins work decoding it immediately. Sleeper, come look at this. Peak is poring over one of the displays of the makeshift decoding suite they have set up on the Climbing Briar's cargo bay. On the screen, a clump of data pathways like an ingrown root ball has started to untangle. This is an existing node corrupted by the flux event. It's totally twisted up. They glance at you to check you are listening. But inside, you watch as the unwinding pathways leave behind patterns of negative spaces like shadows staying behind, despite their caster leaving. Is a whole other data set. Peak's eyes shine bright in the pale screen light. The flux event somehow seeds this data deep into the gaps in the node, wrapping around them. Why? Peak pauses. I have no idea. You watch the screen, the pattern of shadows becoming obvious now as each layer of pathways is pulled away. The flux event itself really did a number on unprotected nodes like this one. Most of the eye's systems are screened against radiation and interference, but these exposed nodes, Peak makes a ripping motion with their hands, torn apart. Peak points to a thick tangle of threads on the screen. Look, here. It looks like it's been tangled purposefully, but it's actually that all the points within the node have been randomly rearranged. It's as if the node was a bag of ball bearings and the flux shook them. The pathways tried to account for the rearrangement once the system came back on, hence the tangle. Peak pauses as the node continues to unwind. Although, Peak muses, it was less like shaking a bag of ball bearings and more like making them all simultaneously occupy a superposition of every possible position in the bag before locking them back into a new configuration. They smile sheepishly, but that's a technicality. Does any of that help us? For now, not especially. It explains the damage flux does to systems, but the method is an exotic one. Peak runs a hand through their hair. What we need to know is what is causing it. Where is it coming from? Peak turns away from the screen, meeting your eye. And there's something else, they pause. Have you spoken with the refugees? A little. Peak lowers their voice instinctively. What they are reporting. Massive systems failures, cascading collapses of life support, of terraforming systems, total data corruption. Peak swallows. The flux shouldn't do that. It can fundamentally rearrange the structure of systems, especially those poorly shielded. But totally collapsing heavy-duty industrial systems, fail-safes and all, that doesn't make sense. Those kinds of systems are built for deep space, for solar flares and radiation. The flux might penetrate them, but any reconfiguration should have been repairable. Peak looks back at the screen, where the decoding node lies almost fully open. A shadow pattern of the negative spaces that existed within its scrambled interior darkens the screen like a set of bruises showing the pattern of the object that made them. I need to look into something. I have an idea what might be causing this wave, triggering the flux, but I need to research it. Can I help? Peak shakes her head. I'm sorry, Sleeper, but I want to keep this to myself for now. If you need something to do, the flotilla could surely do with the help. From what I heard from Esh, things are tense there. Where is Esh? Peak glances around the bay. Must be out. I've been focusing on this, so I can't say I've noticed. Although the quiet is nice, they smile. Give me some time, Sleeper. Peak turns back to their console. I'll have some answers soon enough, I hope. You take one last glance at the uncoiling node as you leave. The dark shapes it leaves behind somehow troubling. Try to shake them from your mind. There are things to be done elsewhere. Okay. Peak's gonna work away on this. Peak is researching something to do with the flux event and seems totally absorbed. They'll let you know when they're ready. Alright, and I have other things to do here. So I'm going to help with the systems on the Wind's Long Shadow. I have a 4 I can turn into a 6 here. You notice a bug in the wind cycling system and manage to fix it. Aki gives you a knowing look. It seems like you're proving yourself. I have a 5 that I could turn into a 6 if there's a +1. Probably like an endure. Yeah, there's an endure action. Someone comes to help you unload for a while, making the work go quicker. When you ask their name, they ignore you. What's going on? Wait, that's giving progress towards something negative? Really? That's the ship that's like too proud to help? I'm gonna give them more Matsutake caps. Might as well. These are safe jobs. I can make them into 3s. Even on a negative, it's a safe action. Even on a negative, I should get a +1. Neutral. You join in with a team of Sauls who are going floor to floor offering assistance. The time goes quickly and the work well. Let's try it again. Another one. Okay. That's pretty good for 2 1s, damn. That's damn good. All right. All right, I'm going to repair myself again with scrap. None of these actions require scrap right now. I can always get more if I need it. All right. See what's happening. I need to eat. It's probably best to just buy food from Memphis because I am flush with cash. All right. Six, 5, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. Still not great. I feed the cat, even though we already determined this does nothing. It helps me to feel like I'm feeding a cat. That's what it's doing. That's for me, the player. All right. I'm gonna put in some more work here. Oh man, I am reluctant to help with this for some reason. Even on a fail, it goes up by 1. I guess it's just like we've seen that before with some of the Ethan events, that it's going to be a negative event, but it might not like be avoidable, and it might not necessarily be negative to us depending on what else we've been doing. So I am going to see if I can fill this. You focus on the most important tasks first. Ship repair, supply chains, organization, and quickly see the effects. And we'll drop a 3 in here, and that may fill this out. Okay. Saul finds you deep in the layers of the Pilgrim Seed, working on a patch for a life support vent. You hear him coming, his suit hissing as he does. I had to ask around to find you, he smiles. Seems you know the place better than me these days. I've put in the time. And we thank you for it. Saul holds out a hand. Stand up and let me see you. He pulls you up to your feet. I don't believe we ever had a sleeper on Ember's hearth. Saul looks you up and down. You sure do make me wish we had. Could have done with a few workers as good as you. Stay silent. Saul tilts his head. A little on the quiet side, though. Seems like I owe you some answers, seeing as you've been working hard on the Pilgrim Seed these past cycles. He leans against a crate, his suit creaking. What do you want to know about? The flux. Saul sighs. That's what I imagined. He scratches at his beard. I can't say I'm an expert, but I can tell you what we witnessed on Hearth. At first, we ignored it. A few farms had their automation systems blink out. Lifter suits locked up. Bots reset their schedules. Nothing we hadn't seen before. But then the news came out of the Passero that they'd been hit harder. The local network had gone down and no one could get it back up. It was rough for a while, but out in the farmland we were used to that. Passero? Capital of Hearth. Tens of thousands of souls made it their home, Saul grimaces. Anyway, we thought the flux was a freak event until the day they got the network running again. That's when the cascade happened. System after system corrupted, data lost. Then another flux hit, and another. The bots were running circles in the fields. People had to be cut out of lifter suits like mine. And the city, I never saw it, but I heard from the others, Saul shivers. It only got worse from there. We couldn't seem to fight it. It cut us right open. That's what I know about the flux. Some folks say it came from the inner system, that it might be connected to some old tech there or something, but I never heard anything more than rumors. Saul scratches their beard. Sorry I don't have better news. Saul shifts on the crate. Anything else you wanted to ask? There was something. Saul nods. What do you want to know about? Ember's Hearth. Sure, he smiles. I mean, I spent my whole life on that rock, so I have plenty to tell. Save my life story for another time, he winks, but the short of it is that Hearth is the first of Ember's moons, the biggest and the most populated. It is down to the successful terraforming systems Sibel sent up back when Solheim owned the system. How are relations with the other moons? Saul smiles. Depends who you've been talking to. You shouldn't mistake me for a politician, Sleeper. That's for others to do. He gives you a look. But Ember's Steppe was a test ground for the terraforming tech that Hearth is built on, while Ember's Song was the extraction site for the raw materials and the energy needed to make it work. You can imagine that might lead to some tension. However, Saul holds up a hand. Despite what people might say, Hearth was never fully stable. Saul shakes his head. Sibel liked to talk it up, but after they pulled out and Solheim left, our people discovered they'd have to keep the systems running themselves, or the place would soon end up as dry as steppe. Hearth was good as long as the evaporators kept running, kept filling our skies with clouds. Even after the collapse, our people kept those things going, turning that subsurface ocean into a periwinkle blue sky. Saul smiles. Flux ended that, though. And when they failed, the rains failed, and the harvest with it. Saul pauses. Soon you have a city without a way to feed itself. Saul shudders. That's when we, some of us, made the decision to set it on this place. He gestures at the pilgrim seed and look for another future. Saul shifts on the crate. Anything else you wanted to ask? I want to know about you. Saul squints at you. You want to know about me? I'm not sure that was part of the deal I was thinking of, Sleeper. Unless you're asking about this, he raps on the metal of his suit. In case you haven't guessed, this is the only thing keeping me vertical. He adjusts a shoulder piece. It's a lifter suit made for work in the fields. We had to modify it so I could walk around after the accident. And that's all I'm saying, Sleeper, because to be honest with you, I don't owe you more than that. You want to know about the flux? About Ember's Hearth? Go ahead, but don't pry into my life, and I won't pry into yours. Saul lets the silence sit, staring hard at the floor. The suit seems to loom over him, looking more like a burden than a support. Bars around his head, you suddenly start to think of it as a cage. Look, I don't mean to be rude. Let's leave it there. There's too many eyes on me on this ship as it is, and I'd rather just slip into the background, thank you very much. Saul shifts on the crate. Anything else? I'm good for now. You sure? Saul smiles. I'm sure. Saul stands, flexing against the suit. He takes his cane in his hand. Keep it up, Sleeper, he smiles as he leaves. You're making me think I need to start making new plans for this place. With that, Saul leaves. You wonder what he means. As he creaks away down the corridor, you can't help but feel there's more to him than it seems. Alright. So we're done there, and now it's about the other two ships. So we're going to put in work here, and I'm going to do this one last, because it's making me nervous that something bad is going to happen. Let's see if we get better rolls. God damn these re-rolls, man. So I could lose energy in a negative, which is not terrible. At least that falls on me and not the ship. Thank you. Well. Yeah. I said it. Didn't I? It's an easy problem to solve. It just means I have to throw 15 cryo at it. And then we'll go back up and we'll drop this other two in there and see if we get a repeat. I mean, at least the yeah, I can absorb that. That negative cost is easy to absorb at least. So, come on, it's a 4 though. It's a 4, right? You bastards. All right. I had a 25% chance both times. That's a 1 in 4. I did it twice and I failed both times. Fucking odds. All right. We've got an ad coming up. I'm going to step away for a few minutes. I will be right back. All right. All right, we are back. End our day. I don't remember if I fed the cat, but I'm going to feed it. And repair myself with my last scrap. No time pressure, but I prefer staying in stable condition when it's an option. Okay. Definitely need to eat today. Yeah. Again, it's just easier to pay. Buy my food from Emphas. Thank you, Emphas. 2 6s, a 5, and 2 3s. That is much better than yesterday. Much better. Alright. You know what? I'm going to pick up a piece of scrap today. There we go. Alright. Are there any nodes out here? No, there's that one fluxed node. That's it. Alright. So let's finish fixing up the Wind's Long Shadow. Let's put some 3s in here. Oh, well. That's okay, I guess. Alright. Aki wants to talk now. I see you've been contributing. Aki stands next to you at the dust house window. I was unsure what to expect when we joined the flotilla on its voyage to the Eye, but after the journey across the system, then the quarantine, then the flux reaching all the way out here too, Aki stops herself. Thank you. She bows a little. The other ships have only been interested in sending us supplies, but we grow all we need. She gestures at the dust house. What the dust houses need, that is the problem that concerns us. She smiles and turns to you. Shall we go inside? Into the dust house? Where else? She taps away at a panel by the window. Seems only fair that after your help with the support systems, you get to see what it is that you are maintaining. Aki leads you to an opening beside the window. You pass through a dark changing room. You notice Aki is sliding on an oxygen mask and visor. She looks at the swirling dust inside. Inside, it's just like Ember's Step. Thin atmosphere, constant dust storms, nothing that will bother you. She passes you a mask. The dust isn't exactly pleasant to inhale, however, so take this. You hold it to your face. She leads you through a short decontamination tunnel with its fizzing panels of purifying light, and then through into the dust house. Immediately, the wind and the heat hits you. You feel the rough waves of dust scattering across your face and peer through the amber murk. Your feet slide on shifting piles of sand. Welcome to the step, or an emulation of it at least. Aki's voice sounds distant, echoey. The terraforming process only managed to provide a limited atmosphere around the moon, one which is slowly escaping. It's been like that since I was born, so I got used to the idea. You catch her bright eyes through the amber dust. So did everything else that lives there. You feel something hard beneath your feet, beneath the sand, like a coil of rope. Look down. You instinctively look down and see something pale and twisted poking out of the sand. Aki sees you looking. This is step silk. It's one of the plants we established on step. She kicks away some red sand. Like any bast fiber, it can be retted and woven into clothes. I'm wearing some made from it myself. It's one of many species adapted to step since the Solheim collapse, which is why it must be preserved. She stares out into the swirling dust. It is as much a refugee as we are, and the dust houses hold hundreds of other species. You look at the pale, unassuming root, threaded thickly through the sand. Aki watches you silently. Had enough? It will be easier to speak outside. Aki leads you back through the decontamination tunnel, which blasts the dust from both of you with a burst of metallic-tasting air, and into the changing room. Aki hangs up both the masks, patiently awaiting your questions. What happened on Ember's Step? Aki pauses, pulling her shawl around her. She looks small and pale inside its layers. Step was already a doomed world, she sniffs. When Solheim gave the terraforming contract to Cybele, they believed they could build an atmosphere, but the moon's erratic orbit made it impossible to maintain. By the time of the Solheim collapse, the atmosphere was already fading, and Cybele's attention was on Ember's hearth. After the collapse, Cybele fell too, as researchers scattered across the moons, and any central organization lost. Since then, my parents' generation worked tirelessly to survive, to to adapt what we had to the failing moon. The steppe silk, the other adapted species, are on the life's work of the steppe's colonies. So when the flux started to collapse our computer systems, corrode and destroy our life support, our water supply, our agriculture, we had to leave. The key sits heavily on a nearby bench. Soon the only traces of steppe will be on this ship. He begins to cry quietly. You are unsure what to do. Sit beside her. You sit on the bench beside her as she sobs. You understand why this ship, why the refugees from steppe are so different. Their world was already dying when the flux arrived. Ember Steppe is a terraformed moon. A partial atmosphere, established colonies, agriculture. And yet when the flux event started, its people had to leave. You think of the Eye, and the delicate web of decaying systems it rests upon. What hope does a ruined station have against a wave that corrupts, corrodes, and collapses? Key interrupts your thoughts, rubbing her eyes. Not everyone left. There wasn't room to take all the people and fill the dust houses. My parents, their friends, and many others stayed. She sniffs. We carry the steppe for them. Perhaps there is hope. We learn not to talk of hope on a dying world. There is meaning for them, and any future they can build with the time they have. She stands up. I wanted you to understand the importance of these dust houses, of what they contain. She leads you back out into the corridor. If the flux events continue to reach out to the Eye, we need to build protections to ensure their safety. A key meets your eye. I can help. Key smiles weakly. I knew it. You will be welcome on the wind's long shadow whenever you wish. These dust houses are already decaying. I have seen it. She stares into the dust. We had thought they would last longer, but that last flux event... Help us. Aki looks at you. Please. I will. When you are ready, we will begin the preparations for reinforcing the dust houses. We need to be ready for the next flux event. Key's eyes shine with the last of her tears. She takes a breath. I will see you soon. Aki drifts away down the corridor, leaving you alone once more at the viewing window, watching the ragged, delicate traces of the moon known as Ember Steppe. That's rough. That's rough, buddy. All right. Improving the dust houses isn't the only way to sustain the steppe silk. With intuitive care, the plant can be made more resistant. Dust house shielding. Aki has devised upgrades that will protect the dust houses from both flux and their slow decay. She needs you to implement them. Alright, let's do one of these first. Actually, they both give +2, but this one could give me a scrap. It didn't, but it could have. So we need to find a way to stop the flux, I think, is what the important thing is here, because that's gonna, if we can figure out what it is and how it works, we can not only find a way to protect the flotilla, but we can also find a way to protect the Eye, which is also going to need it. Because whatever the flux is, it just keeps coming once it hits the first time. Kind of digital wave pulse. Very strange. And nobody knows where it's coming from. These dice kind of suck. Hey, those dice kind of suck. I'm not going to grab scrap just yet. It's the whales. Oh, is that a Star Trek reference? Aliens coming back looking for the whales or whatever? That's a good one. We just have to go back in time. Hey, where are the whales that we put here like 5 million years ago? Where are the whales? Hey, where are all the whales? Oh shit, the whales. Right. The whales that we were supposed to protect. Right. Oh fuck. Okay, don't be mad. Right, this one gives us more progress. But I don't know if I don't think it matters. I mean, this one does give us more progress. But I hope that I can get a scrap. just want one scrap from this engineering action. Come on. Come on. Oh no, hold on. No. Oh. Okay, I got random scrap. I was worried for a minute. Alright, we'll do an endure action here. Saul wants us to help all the ships, and that includes this one, even though they're really grumpy. We are going to sunbathe and repair. That's alright, I guess. And I guess we'll just... No, we'll end the cycle down and feed the kitty because we'll need to eat tomorrow also. Emphasis. Emphases. Feed the kitty. Doesn't do anything. Every time I do that, I hope that I'm mistaken and it will do something, but I already looked it up and I know that it doesn't. You never know. Maybe it does. Maybe when we finally finish the game, it will show us the stats. You fed the cat 547 times. I'm like, yes, that's about right. You spent 4 million cryo feeding the cat. Yep, I sure did. Four. Lots of fours. I think a lot of our actions here have +2s as well, so those 4s will become 6s. Still waiting for Peak to finish analyzing the data. Wait, was there anything else? I think this was just progress with the other ships, right? Yeah, okay. Drop a 4 in here. Just give me a scrap, please. Please. Ask nicely, please. Scrap, please. Scrap, please. One scrap, please. One scrap. Butthole. You and Aki stand side by side at the viewing window in silence. Dust swirls and you glimpse the twisted root systems of the steppe silk through the ochre haze. After all these cycles, you feel a strange connection to a world on which you have never set foot. Aki shifts from foot to foot. She seems restless, eager to speak, but unsure of what to say. The dust houses look good. Aki smiles at you warmly. They do. She pauses and turns back to the window. What is the value of all this, she asks suddenly, of preserving a world we have left behind? Conservation. Aki is silent for a moment. These creatures should be protected, yes, but for us their conservation is conditional. We keep them alive because we need to use them. Can't pretend we are conservators when we harvest as much as we are able. Aki paces away, lost in thought. I'm grateful to you for helping protect the dust houses, for ensuring their slide into decay is delayed, even averted, but now I find myself at an impasse. The stability of the dust houses changes things. It makes me aware of how blinkered we have been. Aki stops to look at you, her posture somehow different. The ecosystems of steppe, if its people, cannot grow to meet the future. Why preserve it? She frowns. Are we just slaves to the preservation of what came before? Not slaves, inheritors. Aki nods. But the weight of this inheritance is heavy. Aki comes close, holds your hands in hers. We must change. We must change to live. She smiles. I have seen that in you. The steppe, these people, this ship, should serve more than heritage, than history. They should serve the future. She takes a breath. There are those in the flotilla that need clothes, that need food, that can benefit from the gifts of the steppe's ecosystem. I want you to invite them. Can you do that for me? Of course. I know that Saul sent you, she smiles. You can tell him Aki, captain of the wind's long shadow, invites all the people of the flotilla to come. I will. She nods. Aki steps away. You want to know about the flux, no? About its purposes, its origins? She smiles. You wish to protect your home, as we could not. I'm afraid I don't have much to tell you. It is an exotic wave of sorts, an energy that passes through matter. It shifts the very charged particles which run through our electrical systems. It's possible to shield against it as you would radiation, as we have done with the dust houses, but only while it is weak. The flux event here was much like the first ones we felt on Ember's Step, localized, destructive but bearable, but in time its strength grew. I don't know if it will be the same here, but... She pauses. It is coming from the center of the system, from the close orbit of Helion's star, H1. That is all we could uncover. She is silent for a moment, unsure of what to add. I'm sorry I cannot offer more, but you are always welcome on this ship, she smiles. I hope I will see you when the others come. She squeezes both your hands. I hope this ship, these dust houses, can be more than a museum. I hope they can be a home. With this, she turns and leaves, and you feel that word, home, resonating within you like a struck bell. Alright. That's 2 ships done. Okay, let's see what's going on with these people. The more I help them, the angrier they get. There's a loose crowd around the supplies you have unloaded and a tense mood brewing among them. You sit nearby on the edge of the shuttle's docking tunnel, resting. Further away, crews from Ember's Song continue their lives as usual, coming and going, trading, discussing. There's a quiet efficiency to the hub, set up as a common space for the swarm of small ships from Ember's Song that are part of Flotilla. Unlike Hearth or Step, there is no one capital ship for this moon's refugees, just a mass of individuals traveling in concert. We told Earth we didn't want their scraps. The jeering voice comes out of the small crowd nearby. Peter. Steely Ember's Song refugee. You turn to see a gaunt, pale man wearing the industrial work gear you have seen many of the Song refugees wearing. You hear me? Stay silent. We agreed to join the flotilla for joint protection. We did not agree to Ember's Hearth using the flotilla to secure their control of the moons. You realize Peter's addressing the crowd as much as he is addressing you. With the cordon down, our crews are more than able to acquire what is needed from the Eye, what is owed as restitution for keeping us restrained. He pats from the crates you unloaded. What we need, we will take. Saul wants to cooperate. Saul is a farmer. Even the people of Song know that he was simply the sole survivor of Hearth's leadership. His authority means nothing. Peter looks around the crowd. Hearth think they can buy us, but we remember the past. A rumble of agreement runs through the crowd. He smiles at them. Take the supplies if you wish, of course. We are not wasteful. Peter approaches you directly. The crowd tentatively moves forward, and by the time he reaches you, they are already dragging away crates and distributing the contents. I'm not one for shooting a messenger, Sleeper, says Peter as he approaches. But we cannot concede to Hearth here, not for a moment. I don't understand. I can see that. Peter sits beside you on the docking tunnel's lip. What was your plan, Sleeper? Unload the supplies and wait for someone to start throwing them back at you? He nods at the crowd rifling through the crates, because that's what was about to happen. Stay silent. What do you think happened to the crew of this shuttle? He shakes his head. They were chased out of this place. What is happening here? We are maintaining our independence, he smiles. Do you know anything about Ember's moon, Sleeper? Or were you planning to wander into this flotilla totally blind, an objective outsider offering help? He rolls his eyes. I know a little. A little is the same as nothing. I'm going to assume you know the basics. The gas giant Ember has 7 moons. The 3 biggest are Ember's Step, Song, and Ember's Heart. He winks. We can cover the 3 sisters next session. Step was the first to be settled. Contract old Solheim gave to the terraformers Cybele Systems when they first claimed the Helion system. That's way back when. Step was a testing ground. Like most testing grounds, it didn't turn out too well. Partial atmosphere slowly sloughing off each orbit, a dysfunctional ecosystem, and a whole load of dust-clogged settlers. The place is a miserable desert long past its best before date. So Cybele moved to Hearth, where they redoubled their efforts. The subsurface ocean and some balmy tidal heating helped, allowing them to build a real atmosphere, a real habitable world. A fact that the typical Hearth colonists won't ever let you forget. How did Cybele achieve such a thing, you might wonder? Well, that's where we come in. It's the same old rule of surrogacy, the one humanity built our universe around. Peter claps a hand on his chest in mock pride. My moon, Ember's Song, is a sulfur-soaked rock covered in volcanoes, tidally heated by its inner orbit to sweltering temperatures. Exactly the kind of crucible you need to fuel a terraforming project. Energy, industry, fuel. Song provided the raw materials for Hearth, Peter grimaces, willingly or not. And a crucible requires people to run it. Us singers, born into a flaming pit and asked to stoke it so others might live in a paradise in the making. That's what we had to endure, until Solheim brought everything down. Peter rattles off this speech from memory, and you wonder how many times he's delivered it. No Solheim, no contract. No contract, no Cybele, and no Cybele meant 3 moons suddenly independent. Peter shakes his head. It was a war, Sleeper. Sometimes hot, sometimes cold. Unsurprisingly, Hearth and Steppe came out of it better than us. Yet, Peter holds up a hand, they need us, Sleeper, always have. And so we are the linchpin. We are the center around which the moons orbit, not swirling ember. We've resisted takeovers, sieges, and expansions, and now we'll resist this. Half the people on these ships think the flux was caused by Hearth, intentionally or otherwise, and I have to say, some cycles I agree. So before you come here to hand out supplies like a good soldier, maybe educate yourself. What does that matter now? Peter shakes his head. Do you forgive crimes against yourself so easily, Sleeper? Would you return to the bosom of SNARP if they sent someone to collect? Peter stares at the crowd. Don't presume to judge us. I want you to imagine what it is like trying to live on an airless volcanic rock when every system that sustains you starts shutting down. He spits and wipes a sleeve across his mouth. We abandoned nothing. Some stayed, others left. But we will reclaim Ember as soon as the flux fades or ends. We've weathered worse. The flotilla should be united. Have you been listening? Peter's voice raises immediately. We don't want to be united, Sleeper. Being united by Hearth means living under them. I won't keep you from the docking axis, Sleeper. No one here has the authority for that. But watch yourself here. Try to remember the Eye is just another in a long list of people who've tried to control us. I understand. Peter nods. Then let it guide your actions. Peter sighs. Look, we are many. We have many needs. Ships come to this docking axis for repairs, for requisitions, for friendship. You can provide these as well as any singer. If you want to help, help in your own name, Sleeper, not in that of Hearth. Peter shakes his head. Carry that name here and you will lose all trust. Be as we are. Act in your own name alone. Peter puts a hand on your shoulder and stands. I hope I didn't just waste my time here, Sleeper. And with that he walks away. Back to the shrinking crowd that is distributing the last of the supplies amongst the crews present. You watch them pass the food and water between them. No signs of conflict between the crews. Just a careful distribution of resources. Peter chats with a few crews, each of them casting looks in your direction, ones that reveal little about the singer's intentions. You stand. Seems the tensions on the flotilla run much deeper than you expected. This won't be easy. It won't. I can understand, but also there's something to be said about holding grudges. Ship mind replacement. Hey, boom, baby! One of the Singer crews looking for a ship mine to replace their flux-damaged core. Maybe you can help them acquire one? I can. And then they want spore supplies. As Peter said, the Singers will only trust you if you act independently of Hearth. Fulfilling supply requests is a good start. You supply the ship mine, but in a way it seemed to only make the crew more suspicious of you. God damn. Fuck, I don't know what to make. What do you fucking people want from me, man? How dare you help us? Why are you helping us? Are you like a good person? I don't trust good people. Like, fuck off. What do fucking people want from me? One of the ships is trying to establish a mushroom farm to help feed the crews that are looking for spores. Okay, I'll do that too, and you'll be like, ew, why are you giving us spores that we asked for? Just, can you accept help? I guess some people have lived with suspicion in their hearts for so long that they see it everywhere. You become paranoid. How many spores do they want? 3. Well, I'll have to give them in a batch. Okay. So that's what I'll do tomorrow then. I did not, however, gain any scrap. So I am going to deteriorate into flickering condition tomorrow. There's no scrap to buy here. No. But there's no serious time pressure, so I can do with 1 less die. That's okay. I'm not going to spend the stabilizer just yet. Alright. 6, 5, and 2 2s. Just feed the cat. Feed the cat every day. Sometimes twice a day. Just because I want to. Buy some food from Memphis. It's a good thing I had all this cryo saved up because I have not had a chance to make any cryo. I've had very little chance. I think I made like 50 or something. Not a whole lot. Gather more spores here. You know what? I've been having some bad luck with low dice, using low dice, even with modifiers. Okay, here you go. See how mad this makes people. The spores have been seeded, and while some may be suspicious of your efforts, crew by crew, you'll convince them. As you cross the axis, looking for a shuttle to take you back to the ruined cordon, you spot Peter standing at the edge of the central hub. Something about the way he's leaning against a rail, looking down across the axis and towards the blinking lights of the flotilla beyond, makes you pause. He's completely still, his head drooping low and his shoulders hunched high. Approach him. You lean on the railing a little way from Peter, leaving a gap between you. This close, you can see the blank stare in his eyes, the way his hands hang limply in front of him. It takes a minute to notice you. Sleeper, he inhales sharply. Still hanging around? Trying to be useful. Peter smiles a tight smile, but doesn't turn to face you. That a sleeper thing, needing to be useful? It's a me thing. It would make sense. Peter closes his eyes. Tools need to be used. What's with you? Peter stands back from the railing. Who invited you, sleeper? Who said you could come here? You think because the Herthers decided to name you their errand boy, we have to put up with you? We don't want you here. We don't need you. His eyes burn with rage. Go home, you stupid machine. Second after he shouts that final line, he collapses in on himself, staying upright but all the energy going out of his body. He slumps back against the railing, his eyes closed once more. You wait. After a while, he speaks. I'm tired, sleeper. Tired of everything. Tired of the empty paternalism of Hearth. Tired of the paranoid whining of the crews. Tired of endless cycles that look the same, smell the same, feel the same. Tired of running, of hiding, of fixing every shitty thing that breaks out here. His shouts echo a little in the hub, but few stop to look. He looks down at his feet. I get it. Peter nods. I'm sorry, sleeper, he sighs. Something is... I don't feel okay. Just tired, I think. Really tired. He stands. I'm going to go. He looks at you and sniffs. Get some sleep. Sleep well. Peter nods slowly, turning away. He raises a hand and drifts away towards the center of the hub. You turn back to the railing, not wanting to watch him go. Seeing him like this, you prefer not to stare. The traffic of the Axis rumbles on as you watch, under an endlessly shining sun. The same air recycled through all these lungs, the same dust gathering speck by speck on the windows. You take a sharp breath, stand straight, and get moving, before the inertia of it all gets to you too. Poor Peter. I understand, buddy. The Axis houses an overflowing job board of engineering tasks requested by the crews. You can help out here. The crew socializing. The Axis is as much a social hub as it is a supply hub. Keeping good relations with the crews will help them trust your work. The more work you do for the singers, the more you get to know the crews, the more they will trust you. Seems like engineering is going to be right up my alley, so that's what I'm going to do. Largest benefit. And it may give me scrap, which I could use. Give me scrap, buddy. God damn it. Oh, haven't quite finished helping, I guess. Tomorrow, we're going to get some news about that node that we handed in to Peak. I'm not sure what to do with this one. There's not, like, really anything that needs to be done. with a 1. Do I have safe engineering tasks in the repair bay? Can't remember. No. But, well, I don't know. Let's see what happens, I guess. I don't know. I got a positive outcome from a 1. I'll take it. I'll take it. All right. And we will end the cycle. Two 4s, a 2, and a 1. I keep getting all these low dice, damn it. All right, let's see what Peak does with the data. Have you ever heard of KAN channel sleeper? Peak asks as soon as you enter the bay, as if you're in the middle of a conversation. There are heavy circles under their eyes, and you aren't sure if they've moved since you last visited. The console they're working at seems to have grown too, shadowing their slight frame in a wealth of screens and wires. Sounds familiar. I'm sure they do. Peak turns to face you. Kiyomani's active negation, the name of the effect used to transport trillions of tons of materials from the surrogate systems to the core. You might have heard of it in your physics classes. At XPR, they hammered the principles into us as kids. KAN. Peak recites the definition as if in the classroom. A process of collapsing spatial causality along the Euclidean distance between 2 points by negating mass simultaneously at both ends of a geodesic curve. Essentially, KAN channels allow for the near-instantaneous transport of raw materials between systems. They require huge volumes of energy, of course, and decades of construction, but once a KAN channel is established, it opens up a system for infinite exploitation. The backbone of surrogacy is what XPR called them. Peak shakes their head. They may not be able to send anything more complex than a rock through them. Complex machines and people are, shall we say, reconfigured by the process. But for raw, molecularly pure materials, Peak flicks a hand. Whoosh. This is your research? Peak pauses. What I was trying to find out was whether the Helion system, this system, ever had a KAN channel. KAN channels are vastly expensive to build, to run. Not every surrogate system has one. Many use fraction drive ships to transport the material to the nearest hub, but Solheim, Peak smiles, Solheim spared no expense when they established this system. There's a KAN channel? Yep. Peak's eyes light up. They shut it down before the collapse. They couldn't run the sender-receiver station anymore, but it was there. It still is, as far as I can tell, closely orbiting our star. In fact, Peak grins, they've been building to this. I'm sure it's still there, because one of the issues with KAN channels are the massive waves of exotic energy they can produce when cycling up. The flux. Exactly. Peak's face suddenly drops. Someone is starting up the channel. Who? Peak sucks in a breath. That, I don't know. They start counting off information on their fingers. They'd need a lot of resources to do it, and they need to have people from the core systems. But there's no real large-scale extraction in the Helion system anymore, so why would you go to the trouble? Just to trigger the flux? Peak rubs their red eyes. The flux, the wave the KAN effect produces, is a side effect. A problematic one, but it isn't a destructive force. If it was, the core systems would have never been able to use it. So then why are colonies collapsing because of it? Why is it chewing through systems, the kind of industrial systems set up to function within the range of once active KAN channel? Peak is getting frustrated. The moons of Ember have been terraforming since before the collapse. They would have had to deal with the flux, yet everything we have heard from the refugees said it brought down every system they had. Peak falls quiet, thinking it all through. Your mind drifts too, thinking of the KAN channels, those vast, acausal highways that prop up the core systems and their endless appetite for resources. The system has been quiet for decades. Solheim collapsed, most corporations gave up their claims, and apart from the sealess ships that came to begin work on the sidereal horizon, no one from the core has come here in all that time. You shiver as you imagine the attention of the core. The systems of logic and exploitation that created you, created your suffering, turning towards the Helion system. A floodlight turned to this dark corner. A shrill bleep catches both of your attention, and Peak rushes to a screen, one showing a crude map of the station. On it, individual markers begin to flare up with insistent chirps. Peak looks puzzled for a moment, and then their face drops. No. They lean in close. This doesn't make any sense. What's happening? The flux nodes are appearing elsewhere on the station. Peak pulls at their hair. I set the system to alert me to other flux nodes near the epicenter of the flux event, but these are everywhere. The hub, the low end, the shipyard. How can this happen? The only reason we saw flux nodes here is because it is the most rundown part of the station. They were barely shielded, but others appearing so far after the event. Peak turns to you. You're going to need to get me the data from these nodes, and quickly. I'll keep looking at what we have here, but I need to know why they're popping up everywhere. Right now? Right now. We can talk more about CAN channels and systems history when you're back, but this needs our attention right now. Peak turns quickly back to the monitor, their eyes following scrolling screens of code spewing from the newly flux nodes. You leave quickly, but struggle to shake the image of the spotlight from your mind. You feel watched as you cross back into the pilgrim seat on your way to a shuttle bay. You hurry onward, eager to outrun the fear. Something happened in the core systems. Something bad. Okay. Let's go see what's going on with these flux nodes and what kind of dice they need. Maybe all need high dice as well. I'm noticing that the river is still dark, though. Like it's unaffected. There's one. 6, 5, or 4. There's one. 6, 5, or 4. Well, I have 2 4s, so I'm not going to fuck around with this. Whatever's happening, it's spreading. Glad I have a +2 in interface, giving me those, allowing me to use 4s. Is there any on the hub? There is. 6, 5, or 4. There's a 5. That's 3 fluxed data. Okay, that seems to be it. I didn't check before we left. I'm assuming it's the 3 data that Peak needs. Yes. Okay. Excellent. Peak has tracked flux nodes in the low-end hub and shipyard. They want the data extracted. Done. Peak loads the data in their decoding setup. I'll be just a moment. Don't leave, Sleeper. You watch as Peak works on the flux data. The nodes unfolding like flowers now, giving into Peak's increasingly sophisticated decoding protocols. Seeing data like this, as an image on a screen, is almost unrecognizable representation to you. It is nothing like swimming among nodes and threads. Despite this, Peak has proven themselves to be more than able to handle these complex data structures, even through this limited representational paradigm. The bay door hisses, interrupting your flow of thoughts. You turn to see Esha entering. Esha. She looks up and meets your eye, but doesn't respond. Esha stalks into the bay, head down. She looks tired and not in a mood to talk. How was the weapon hunt? Peak asks without turning from their screen. Slow, unsuccessful, tedious. Esha slams a bag down on a crate and hops up to sit on it. You still unpicking balls of yarn? With the Sleeper's help, Peak smiles. They brought me some good stuff this cycle. Maybe they could help you find the weapons you were smuggling. It's clear that Esh doesn't appreciate Peak's tone. Still looking? Uh-huh, Esh replies, and whoever took them better be making the most of the rapidly shortening lifespan right now. Esha, Peak cuts in without looking away from the console. We talked about this. This is my mistake, Peak, and I'll fix it how I want. Esh folds her arms. I know one of the factions of the flotilla's taken them. I just need to find out. Peak holds up a hand. Shh. They lean in towards the screen. Son of a... What? They hit it in the wake of the wave. Peak is whispering to themselves. It's alive. They lean back in their chair. Oh, Free Frag, you're off? Wish me all the best. Have fun tomorrow. Thanks. You have fun too. Enjoy the rest of your excellent weekend. I hope everything goes well. Have fun, and I'll see you later. Thanks for coming by. Esh crosses over to look at the screen. Alive. Well, it's growing. Thank you. Well, it's growing. It's processing. It's quietly working away in the dark. Look. Cross over to the screen and stand beside Ash. In it, you can see that Peak has all 4 nodes decoded, and the pattern of shadows from inside them sits on the screen like dark stains. Then you notice it, the movement. The thin threads cross from one stain to another. As you watch, you notice that the movement only ever happens in your peripheral vision, as if this thing, this shadow, knows it's being watched. This is how the other flux nodes appeared. Peak rubs his eyes. They weren't fluxed by the wave. They were corrupted after the fact. This thing, this shadow that entered in the wake of the wave, it corrupted them. But it made the corruption look like a result of the flux. It's a sleight of hand. Peak runs a hand through their hair. The flux wave is so massive, so complex, that it opens up the systems to be attacked. As it reconfigures exposed systems, this shadow is broadcast in, implanted inside. The wave from the CAN channel, it's a brute force wave hitting every system in Helion. Once the systems are vulnerable, Peak looks pale, their eyes reflect the screens. The flux isn't what is attacking the systems, it is the siege weapon, a Trojan horse. Then this thing takes over. Peak sits back in their chair. And it's already on the eye. Wait. Ash rubs her forehead. You're telling me there's a CAN channel in this system? Shit, Peak isn't listening. This is bad. We have to take this to someone. Peak looks desperately at you. Helene? Is that wise? Ash cuts in. Haven't exactly made good decisions lately. They're the station administrators, Ash. Peak is desperate. They need to know. The argument rages between them, and as you watch them shouting, you feel sick. After a while, they stop, running out of things to say. An unsettling silence descends on the bay. I need more time, Peak says quietly. I need to look at solutions, try to build a case, collate the evidence. We messed this up. They look down at their hands. Ash goes to speak and then thinks better of it. Not a word, Sleeper. Peak meets your eye. Don't tell anyone until they're ready. They sigh. With the tension among the refugees, Saul won't be ready to hear this, and Helene and Havenage are still mired in some kind of crisis. We tell Havenage they are likely to react badly, and if we tell Saul, I doubt he'll take it well either. If you can calm the situation in the flotilla, then we can choose. You're too twisted up in this, Peak, Ash says quietly. This is not our place. We don't owe... Stop. Esha. Peak slumps in their chair. Stop. You leave them like that, exhausted and troubled, and head back out into the Pilgrim Seed. When you close your eyes, you think of those shadows, that movement at the edge of your vision, something dark growing in the station like a parasite. You feel sick, your vision blurs. What comes next? You stop in a corridor and take a breath, putting a hand on a rumbling metal wall. For now, the eye keeps spinning. For now. Oh, I got a drive completed. Still completing drives. Well, I've got a 5. I might as well spend it up here. Take a handful of jobs and work through them, sharing tips and chatting with crews. You can feel them warming to you. It's good, I'm halfway done that. Oh, man. The hub is being digitally invaded. That bothers me for multiple reasons. One, there are people living on the hub, and if its systems start failing, what'll happen to them? 2, there are sentiences living on the hub. Digital sentiences. Are they under attack right now? And 3, I am a hybrid, and I could be affected for both of those reasons. Oh man. It's a little nerve-wracking. I don't know what's gonna happen. I gotta finish helping the flotilla. I gotta eat again. Emphas, you're saving me right now, buddy. Oh boy. Actually, hold on. Before we do that, has the salvage ship come back? Not yet. These guys are back, though. I will buy a ship mine fragment. Just one for now. So I have 3 fragments which I can build into a ship mine if I need any of those. I'm just going to hold on to them. I don't need the cryo from selling a ship mine right now. I'm going to have to use stabilizer tomorrow. Okay, let's use a 5 here. What's the negative action? -2 energy. I'll risk that. Neutral. Reroll. Another 6. Close. Finish that tomorrow. This is still just... yeah, I just need to finish that. And then I can sunbathe as well. And I'll have to inject stabilizer tomorrow. Oh, man. What is going on? 6556, that's pretty good. Alright, stabilizer. Use a 5 here. Okay. Sleeper. Peter calls to you as you cross the axis. He's standing by the same railing as you saw him at last time, and he beckons you over. I've been hearing things. He gives you a sidelong look. Stay silent. Peter smiles. Don't be so nervous. He rubs his hands together nervously. You wait for him to speak. You know, on song, I was a teacher. He glanced at you, anticipating a response. Really? Peter sighs. Don't sound so surprised. Mechanical engineering. It's an essential subject on a moon where a single mechanical failure could mean the deaths of hundreds. He looks at the ground. The heat, the atmosphere, the radiation, all of it is hostile to us. My students knew this. Their work, their training was respected. As long as they were careful, respected song themselves, they could have their choice of colony placements. They were always in demand. That meant I was respected, surrounded by friends and colleagues, always able to call in favors and repay them like for like. He frowns. Song colonies are small, close-knit. We look after our own. When the flux events started hitting, colonies went dark overnight. We all knew what those kinds of failures meant. Like always, we lost more people than any of the other moons. He balls his hands into tight fists. Not a single one of my students left Song. Our future was cut off just like that. My future. He flexes his hands. What am I out here? What use am I? Song is a fading memory, and the systems we built there are useless outside its orbit. How am I supposed to move on from here? He looks at you, eyes steely gray and glinting. Find someone to teach? Peter pauses, thinking. You don't give up, do you, Sleeper? You just keep going. Peter shakes his head. You remind me of a student of mine, one who entered the program from one of the smaller colonies. They didn't have the advantages of some of the others, but they were stubborn as hell. By the end of the program, they were the most skilled of their peers. They didn't get the best assignment, maybe because they didn't spend much time making the kind of connections that would help you get there. But that didn't matter, because I knew they would make the best of anything they set themselves to do. Peter is smiling now, buoyed up a little by the memory. Singers are stubborn, Sleeper. We aren't going to change easily. We won't forgive easily or take help easily, but we'll hold strong. You can count on us for that. Peter stands from the railing. When you see Saul again, you can tell him that. You can tell him how the crews of Ember's Song operate. Tell him we will resist. If that means resisting Hearth's imperialist ambitions, so be it. And if it means resisting the flux, so be it. And if it means to, as you have, help others resist those same pressures, so be it. Peter smiles, and then tell him to leave us alone. He turns his step later and heads off towards the center of the Axis' hub. Okay. I like that outcome. Alright, let's talk to Saul. When you arrive at the bridge of the Pilgrim Seed, Saul is waiting for you. You wouldn't believe the messages that have come through in the past few cycles, Sleeper, he smiles. The ship from Steppe has sent a goodwill gesture. What do you mean? Saul asks. It A whole cache of supplies from their own farms, he smiles. Not sure how we'll use them, but the gesture is a welcome one. Song, meanwhile, are apparently accepting supplies again, although a little reticently, if I may say so, Saul smiles. I don't expect them to change anytime soon, it should be said. And what I'm wondering, Sleeper, is what part you had in all of this. Saul eyes you, waiting for an answer. I helped where I could. Come to expect that of you, Sleeper, he smiles. You look at Saul, his eyes bright and eager, and wonder what he sees in you. Are you a tool to be used or an ally? It can be hard to tell. I want to show you something. Saul squeezes your shoulder, turning you to face the lift. He leads you along the axis of the ship, towards the engines, the clanking of his suit accompanied by the constant hammering and welding that fills the echoey bulkheads of the Pilgrim seat at all hours. With the cord unlifted, and shuttles able to go out to salvage scrap and barter for supplies, the ship has become a place of transformation, moving towards some state yet to be revealed to you. You look at Saul. What is his plan here? What is he preparing the Pilgrim seed for? Or are his sharp eyes simply focused on making it through the next cycle? Suddenly, Saul stops in front of a huge bulkhead door, like the seal on the front of a dry dock hangar. He signals to someone in the cabin high up, attached to the wall, and they begin the process of opening it up. The Pilgrim seed was built as a short-range freight carrier, you know. The amber warning lights of the bulkhead door send spinning shadows across Saul's face. We built it to ship the entire harvest from thousands of farms to the silos at Passero. When we realized we'd need to leave, it was the biggest ship we could muster. Saul raps on a metal plate. Somehow she's carried us all the way out here. You led the evacuation? Me? He laughs, not even close. I was a farmer, had a whole load of land and people to run it, and my people helped convert this place for the long trip. He looks at his feet. Others led, organized the evacuation, and debated the plan. What happened? Not one of those folks made it. Saul rubs his forehead. We were out in the black a long time before we got here, Sleeper. Things happen. The upshot is I was chosen to take over. I guess my crew trusted me, and I knew the ship. I argued, reminded them I'm no leader, and that I'm sick, but, well, when service chooses you... A loud klaxon sounds, indicating the bulkhead doors are ready to open. They groan as they slide back, the metal squeals echoing through the vast ship, bouncing off its hard-plated walls. At first all you see is darkness. Then the lights go on, in huge strips that stretch back and back as far as you can see. The space in front of you, a vast bay, bigger than any of you have ever seen, is empty. When we left Earth, we didn't have the time or resources to convert the entire ship. Saul begins leading you into the massive space. So much of the freight space we sealed away, shut down. But now, we have time. We have resources. We stabilized here, at least for the moment. Saul turns to you. Now is the time we make use of all this. What are you planning? What do you think happens next for the Eye, Sleeper? Saul sighs. The flux has already hit one part of the station. From what I know, it'll hit again. On Earth, we lost everything. There isn't much time, Sleeper, but there is enough time to do something. Think of the number of people we can fit on here. The farming stacks, the housing. Hell, we can plant some of those mushrooms you love so much. This is the way forward, the only way. We need to fill this ship with able bodies and head for the starboard belt. I thought the Eye was your destination. It was, until the flux hit here. Now it's just another stop. I'm glad of the chance to resupply and salvage, but we need to go further out. I want you to help me. You know the Eye. You have connections. You can work hard. I've seen it. Saul meets her eye. I know you're like me, Sleeper. You didn't choose service, but it chose you. There are other ways. If you know them, go ahead. But I'm telling you, this is the opportunity we have now. I know it's a lot to think about, Sleeper. Trust me. Saul begins to lead you back out of the bay. But think of what we can do here. The flotilla can't last forever. We need more than just farmers to make this work. We need to build a new world for ourselves. I've heard that out there in the belt there are people who've been setting up since the collapse, making something of their own. That's our future, tucked away in those rocks, far from all of this. Saul sighs. I didn't bring my people here just to let them die somewhere new. Saul crosses back over the threshold of the bay and signals for the operator to close it up. The door groans and Saul waits for it to stop. Think about it, Sleeper. Saul claps an arm on your back. But don't wait too long. This is happening soon. And he leaves you there in the silence of this vast bay, your head spinning with the thought of leaving the Eye. Of everyone leaving the Eye. But can everyone leave the Eye? Right? There are millions of things living here that other people don't really know about. I do have a +2 now. I want to see if I get another drive. I don't have any active drives. Okay. Now we wait to see what happens with the data. Oh, there's the final episode. Okay, so this might be a good place to leave it for now. We're kind of getting... I'm going to snooze this ad. So, I think I'm going to finish this day up here. I'm going to gather some scrap. And then the final episode is going to start in 2 days. So there's one more episode. Episode Purge, the final episode, will begin when the clock below is complete. Good luck. Peak is compiling their data on the flux to be presented to Saul or Helene. You get the sense they are dreading the choice. Okay. So when we come back for the next stream, we're doing the final episode. The pacing has been pretty good. I feel happy with it. So I guess these are the 3 story expansions they released for the first game before they started working on the second game. And I think their quality is pretty good. They've been released for free. Like, I didn't buy any DLCs with this game. So they were just like free story expansions. I think they're really good. I think in total I've been very happy with this. This might be a Detroit Human type situation for me. I don't know if anyone here has played that game, but I played Detroit Become Human, which is an insane story game, branching like story game. And I had a really good ending, and things could have gone really badly at the end of that game. And after I played it through once, the game's like, hey, you can go back and play any of the chapters and do them differently and see how the story changes. And I was like, I couldn't bring myself to do it. So I was like, I was too happy with my ending. I'm like, I don't want to know how badly things could have gone. I don't have morbid curiosity. So anyway. All right. I think that's it for today. Saul. Hey, buddy. You always show up right when I'm finishing up. Beans. Yeah. Don't show up so late. Oh, you're a working man. Oh, yeah. You know, you can always have me on in the background. Always have me on in the background while you work. I guess if you're busy on the phone, though, it could be a little distracting. I can appreciate that. I don't work well with distractions either. Yeah, I just think this is a very good neutral point to stop, like a resting point in between. Because these episodes have been quite time sensitive. They feel quite time sensitive, especially at the beginning. So, yeah, I gotta go get lunch. I have to run some errands this afternoon too, so we've got to go to the greenhouse, get some more stuff for the vegetable plot we've got. Anyway, I appreciate you coming by anyway. Okay, so I will be back on Tuesday, and we will probably, sounds like we will finish this game on Tuesday and see what happens. I'm hoping that we can find a way to stop the flux so that we can keep the eye the way that it is, because it's home, it's our home, but also I don't know if it's going to come up. Like Navigator, Gardener, all the other sentiences that live on the station hasn't come up yet. I wonder if that's going to finally come up in the last episode. We'll see. All right. Anyway, thanks everyone for coming by and watching. I'm going to put a thing here, as always. I'm going to upload this onto my YouTube, and we've got our playlist going for this this game. So if anyone has missed anything, you can go back and watch the previous episodes on the playlist. Yeah, that's it. I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend and enjoy the upcoming week. I hope to see you Tuesday. Finish up Citizen Sleeper. Okay, love you all. Thanks so much for your support. Take care, everyone. Bye.